it's harder to sing and play at the same time. So what I want to do in this video is I want to look at, continue looking at this accompaniment style of Elton John, specifically for this song, Tiny Dancer. And in the first video, what we did is we looked at the idea of learning the chords, but then applying an accompaniment pattern to these chords. So in the first part, we learned these, okay, the C chord and the F chord with the octaves, and this syncopation. Okay, we can mix that pattern up, but that basic idea of left hand, right hand syncopation. So what I want to do is continue with the next 8 measures of the first verse. The pattern changes a little bit and the chords change a little bit. But what I want to first look at is the chords, because the way that he plays these chords are a little different, and he uses a lot of 7 chords. So the idea here is that let's look at some of the chords here in this 8 measure pattern. So we have an F chord, ballerina, E minor 7, A minor 7, D over F sharp, okay, D minor 7, E7, A minor, and a G7 over B. Okay, now I'm playing all these chords right now in my right hand in root position, okay? But let's look at the minor 7, let's look at the 7 chords, okay? So here's an E minor 7 chord. E, G, B, D. We have an E minor 7 chord. Okay, an A minor 7 chord. A, C, E, G. A D minor 7 chord. D, F, A, C. Okay, 7 being that I'm adding the note a 7th above the root. Okay, it's a 4-note chord. Now, if you notice this structure now, here's my E minor 7. E, G, B, D. Well, if I take the E away from the bottom, I've got a G chord on the top, which is a G triad, okay? If I take my A minor 7 chord, A, C, E, G, if I take the A away, I've got a C chord on the top, okay? So this is this idea of like 2 multiple chords combined together, okay? In jazz, they call this upper structure, and when we start getting into jazzy chords with tensions on top of them, all right, it's the idea of thirds stacked upon thirds, okay? So what I want you to do is to think of these chords with their upper chords. So now on the E minor 7 chord, if I play a G chord on the top, but keep my E's on the bottom, okay, now I've got an E minor 7 chord. And what I can do is I can do inversions of this G chord, all right? So I've got a G chord root position, a second inversion, a first inversion. On the bottom, okay? So this is all E minor 7, okay? For our A minor 7, A, C, E, G, right? Now if I think of a C chord with an A in my bass, okay? And I can do inversions of this C chord, okay? So this is something that Elton John does quite often, is this idea of a chord on top of a chord. He does it in Rocket Man. So this chord right here, right, I'm playing a B flat chord, but I've got G in the bass, so that's a G minor 7. Same chord in Yellow Brick Road. When are you gonna come down? Okay, that same chord, B flat over G. He does it. Oh, and Benny and the Jets. That's the good example. Is that he's got this. He's got this G major 7 chord, G, B, D, F sharp. So the top part of this is a B minor chord, okay? So he's playing this octave voicing, B minor chord with G's in the bass. And then he goes down to an A minor chord over F. A minor so let's go back to Tiny Dancer. So what I want you to do first is to go through these chords and take these minor 7 chords and rewrite them as chord over chord. So your E minor 7 is now G over E. Your A minor 7 is C over A. Okay? Your D minor 7, F over D. Okay? So let's look at the voicing for these chords. Okay? So in the right hand here, what he's doing is he's playing F chord, G chord, C chord, D chord, okay, F chord, but this is the D minor 7, F chord, the E7 chord, he's playing the same shape, right, E7, okay, then A minor, and G. Okay, if I add the left hand bass notes now, I have F, G over E, C over A, here's the D over F sharp, the D chord with the F sharp in the bass, okay, it's written that way, right? F over D, E7, A minor, G over B, or G7 over B. Okay, so those are the chords. So you should be able to play each of those chords with even beats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? All right, so we've got the chords. So now let's take the chords and let's look at the rhythm pattern, okay? The rhythm pattern is pretty much the same for this whole, these whole 4 measures, okay? So let's just take this with this F chord. There's your pattern, okay? 1 and 2 beats, all right? Your left hand is going 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Just playing the octave. Okay? Now you can add an extra beat at the end. You could go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay? You could even go 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and a 1. I'm just playing around with that upper thumb note. Okay? My right hand is playing the chord 3 times, but it's syncopated on the 16th note beat, okay? So it's going 1 and 2 and, okay? It's going in between the beat, all right? Now I don't expect you to count it. That's one of the reasons why we're just learning these patterns, so we're not counting these 16th note rhythms, okay? If I put them together, I'm going together, left, and then the right chord 2 times. So together, left, 2 times. But now let's put it into this beat. 1 and 1. Okay, if you can just practice that on 1 chord at a time. Okay, so now let's do this on this E minor 7, which we're playing as a G over the E. Okay, the next one is the A minor 7, which we're playing as a second inversion C chord over A. Okay, now if we string these all together, right, you got to know these chords. You got to be able to move from chord to chord, okay? But the pattern now goes. So the first thing to do is to learn your chords, right? Think about these chord over bass note shapes, and then practice the rhythm pattern, but just on one chord, right? Practice that rhythm pattern, get it so that's smooth, get it so you can go maybe from one back to the other to 2 chords. Then you got to apply that rhythm pattern to the whole section, okay? So that's what you have to practice.